So I forgot a clip yesterday when Karma was getting up all over me when I was trying to do my video. Showing you yesterday my key strap. This key strap I bought at Walmart. It's got the happy faces on it. They have a couple different kinds there. And I have got this in the camping department. Whenever I got in a truck with another girl, I always had a spare one that I give them. It's only $1. It has a whistle. And some people say having a whistle is a good security thing if you got into a situation. Like if you had this around your neck and you were walking through a truck stop and I used to walk and just have it, and if anybody bothered me, then I would blow the whistle because it kind of shocks people a little bit so that you can like run or get out of the way or hit them or whatever you got to do. It also has a thermometer on it. Helps to tell what temperature it is outside. It's good to know what temperature it is because if it's at the freezing point and the roads got moisture, I'm not driving. In the winter time, I don't drive unless the sun is up and the ground temperature is, frozen road and you're going to get ice. You want to make sure that you're not going to slide and jackknife. You need to make sure that the road is safe for driving. It also has a magnifying glass, if I needed to start a fire. Sometimes, though, I couldn't find my glasses and I needed to use this to look at the map when I got lost. And it also has a compass on the back side. So for $1 for this and $1 for that, that's a great little keychain that I'm glad that I found. It's got all kinds of little things on it that I need. I can pretty much skim over my story at this point because most of it's written, but it's more about little character things that you need to pay attention to when you team up. I still get emails from potential students that said, oh, you're making me make a better plan, or I'm second guessing or whatever because all the recruiting ads say something to the contrary. There are recruiters that try to tell you the truth, but some people just believe what they want to believe. And then there's been some recruiters that have told me that they were basically downsized from their recruiting job for telling the truth. It's not that it's like some evil empire. It's just, that's sometimes they want to sugarcoat it. I had one recruiter say, we always kept the experienced drivers away from the students so that they wouldn't tell them what the real deal was. I don't like that. I had somebody write me last night that said that they were being couldn't find a job in the industry that they are, and that in their industry also they say there's a shortage, but there's really not a shortage, but they have the opportunity to do this, and the guy's trying to find out about this. Why is there why do they keep saying that there's a shortage in all these different industries? The IT industry, he happens to be a welder. Trucking, no. There's a lot of people in America that need jobs. It is our own industries who are squeezing out experience for inexperience. They don't want to say that, but they're doing it. They're doing it with all kinds of mechanisms to make it so that you can't get employed. I've met a really nice man about 4 weeks ago when I was at a fuel stop who was asking me about my company. He told me that he was had gone to an orientation at a flatbedding company, and then they took the bus all the way up there and sat for the orientation, and he's got experience and he's got no accidents, and he wasn't offered the job. The people with the least experience were offered the jobs. The people that get paid less, that demand less pay, those were the people that got the jobs. What's happening in this country is what I'm talking about. What's happening in this country with regards to eliminating the experience for the inexperienced. And then the recipient of that is highway safety. Our government is doing it too. They're facilitating it. So that's really what I'm talking about. When I'm moving on to the TJ story, I want to kind of skim over that. I was just with TJ long enough to get from Central California to back to Chattanooga to see Tony. And she's a single mom. She had a young daughter. Her family was helping her. I thought it was admirable that she was working so hard. The father was not involved. He wasn't helping her out. She was doing the best that she could do. I didn't get the impression that she had a lot of females in her young life, and so once she warmed up to me, she asked me a lot of questions that a girl would ask another girl about products, and that's why I did the hygiene thing. It wasn't directed at her because I drove with a couple women that had some issues. Also met other women and men, and the men said we had to get off her truck because the way she took care of herself. That's not something somebody wants to come up and say to you, so don't make them. And some people will be saying, well, you should learn that from your parents. Unfortunately, people don't. Just this morning, I saw a thing on our own bulletin board, somebody looking for a team driver, and he said at the bottom, I am not a babysitter. Sadly, you do have to say that to people. And, just go into a women's restroom sometime and see how filthy it is. For some reason, women, clean it up. Clean up after yourself and clean up yourself. It has to be said. Anyway, TJ, she really wanted to do the best job possible. She was fortunate to have a very good mentor. I don't know that he was her trainer. She had been driving several months longer than me. And so when she picked me up, we went and got a load, and I saw right away she had problems parking. But so did I. But she'd been out there almost a year. And so we are supposed to help each other out. We're supposed to get out and watch each other back up. But she wasn't, well, who am I to be giving direction? Because I had very little. I just was, but some other guys came to help, and she was rejecting their advice, their help. She wanted to do it herself, but she was doing worse and worse and worse and worse. And I could see that she was getting, the more that the men were trying to help her, the more shut down she was getting. She was blocking out. She was getting more nervous. She knows, but she didn't know. And then we finally, hit the dock, and we got our load, and we got out of there. The next part was we were in really high wind going up the Grapevine, which is very steep in California if you don't know it. If you've ever driven up the Grapevine, it's like a graveyard of trucks overheating usually, and in the fog there's usually lots of crashes, and there's burning brakes trying to go down because it's hard to stop if you don't know what you're doing, and it's treacherous. It can be treacherous. So we were going up the Grapevine, and our truck went like that with another truck because the wind blew us into the other lane. And she was driving, and she turned around to me and she said, "You didn't see that. You're my witness." This was in the first few hours that I was on the truck. And if you're going to do something wrong that you're not supposed, you know what I mean? Like, it was something that the wind picked us up and moved us into the other lane. But I'm not your witness. Luckily, there wasn't damage to the other truck, but it hit the windows, but she didn't stop to even see, and if it tore them off or whatever, she just kept going. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do in that situation, especially everything that had happened to me up to this point? She said, "You're my witness, that didn't happen." Now, that did not come back. The other driver never, came to us. We didn't have any damage to our truck. But it was a character issue for me. We went to our Southern California terminal. Our management there is very nice. They asked us if we would help move some trailers. I don't have a problem moving some trailers to help them go get some maintenance. I'd rather be doing something to help out than be sitting around looking at the cement. Sometimes people, they just sit in their tractor and they just look at the ground. I'd like to do something. Even if it's just a little bit of money, it's worth it to me. And I didn't mind, but she got, I won't say upset, but the way that she spoke to our terminal manager was not very professional. And he asked for her name, and he wanted to, send an email to the dispatcher about her. She was on a reefer account, and her dispatcher kind of took care of her. Perhaps that got her to a spot where she gave her an inch, she took a mile sort of attitude. I don't know. But I was embarrassed by the way she spoke to our terminal manager in California, because he's a very nice man and he didn't deserve to be spoken to that way. I did get to meet her mentor, and he was a real nice guy, and she would call him in all hours of the day and night. And I felt like, sometimes it's nice to have somebody to call. I wish that I had somebody to call, but sometimes you got to figure it out for yourself. And she wasn't doing that. We went and picked up a load, and she said she'd been there several times before, and she knew, and then we missed the stop, and she flew us into this parking lot, and we had to turn around. The parking lot had a very small building, an old concrete building, fragile, and she had to turn around, and I'm so glad I got out of the truck, and I said, just hold on a second, and I got out, and I walked around the side of the truck, and I said, do not move 1 inch. We were just like this close to bumping our trailer into the corner of this small concrete building, and it was so fragile. If we would have done it, I believe it would have leveled it. It would have just crumbled it, because it was just an old building that was, barely on its own anyway. Plus there were some low wires. It was 11 o'clock at night. Luckily, she did listen to me, and we stopped, and we got ourselves out of there. We got our load, and we started heading out. The other incident that she did was that she used a container to go to the bathroom in the sleeper, which is not uncommon. But when she did it, she brought it out to the front while I was driving. First of all, when she did it and she removed her pants, the entire truck filled up with the smell. And it was really hard to drive for me when she did that. How do you talk to somebody about that? What made it worse was she walked straight out with a container, and she rolled the window down, and she poured it out into the traffic while we were driving, and it went across our truck. And I was very angry. I don't like people throwing things out their window. I don't care if it's fluid, bottles, trash, cigarette butts, whatever. You could just see urine go spraying all over our truck and the cars next to us. That is really bad manners. By the time we had gotten out to New Mexico, she wanted to know, would I team with her if it didn't work out with Tony, and she told me that several people had gotten off her truck, and they had various reasons why they got off the truck, but she seemed kind of mystified. Why would they get off the truck from her? What was wrong with her? I mean, when somebody's not, what are you supposed to say? And I'm the kind of person that says it, and it doesn't always go over that good. I mean, she took it pretty well, and I told her straight out about the urine issue. I said I would never ever drive with somebody that would do something like that. You could never do that again. And she agreed that that was something that she could change. The driving issues were tough. The bumping, the not trusting herself, a lot of a chip on her shoulder, which the chip on her shoulder was making her make little errors that could be potentially worse. So when we got to we were making our way out to Alabama. On the way there, we got a phone call from somebody at the terminal, and they said a girl had come in who had been harmed, and that it was getting shushed down. And so she called her mentor, and he said, unfortunately, it happens often, and it's sad, but it's best to stay out of it. Here I was coming in after this incident that I had, and pretty much the scuttlebutt amongst the drivers was, don't make an HR report or you'll have a target on your back. I had been told by the lady in HR that I was done. I didn't need to do anything more. I did write a statement, and Ms. had told me she would not seat me on a truck until I went and made a formal complaint in HR. But HR was telling me they didn't need anything from me. So I knew I was going to have this situation when I got there. Tony was waiting for me, and he's like, I'm going to go up with you, don't worry. He had more of a vendetta sort of attitude about it than I did. I felt like, I told this woman in HR this is what happened, and this guy intends on being a trainer, and I feel that somebody should be aware of this, because he would be a threat to a woman. He should not have a woman on his truck. If this is the reason that he's becoming a trainer, because he needs to have a female on his truck, and he sees it as like a present, like, here's a woman, do whatever you want with her on your truck, somebody should, intercept this before it happens. And that did not happen. Like I said in my other video, he did become a trainer. He did have something happen, because I ran into David that I spoke about, who was actually one of the people that walked me to the truck. And he said, hey, you're the girl that got on that guy's truck, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, man, that guy, somebody that I know got on the truck, and he told me what happened. And I said, you don't have to tell me. And I told him what happened to me. He was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. And I said, well, so much has happened to me. He goes, I couldn't believe you got on that truck. I'm like, well, you guys walked me down there. Why didn't you say, don't get on the truck? I'm like all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, all taking everybody at face value. I'm nice. Okay, sounds good to me.